Greetings, everyone. Great to see all of you. If you work in our field of ESG investing and green finance, you are used to division and pessimism. Division about the politics of ESG investing and the need for an energy transition, pessimism about the pace of change and future trajectories. We at Jefferies are highly aware of the divisiveness and pessimism when it comes to this topic, but we think there is a bigger story, which is that there are very clear areas of agreement and therefore optimism on ESG matters between policymakers, corporates, and civil society of different political persuasions and worldviews. We advocate to our clients to spend their time and invest their capital in those areas for the highest return. I want to highlight 4 such topics now before handing it off to the next session. Number 1, there is consensus around fixing the US grid. They say the first step in solving any problem is to admit that you have one. And for the energy transition, we have a significant problem in the US grid, which is simply outdated for the major renewable build-out that is beginning in this country and underdeveloped in terms of transmission lines needed. According to scientists at the Lawrence Berkeley National Labs, there's a power system waiting to be built in the US, 50% larger than the current power system, 95% of which is solar, wind, and battery storage. That is what developers and utilities want to build and have applied for through interconnection queues. However, the average wait time for permitting a new renewable project is 4.5 years, and for a transmission project is 6.5 years. That simply won't cut it. The single most important thing that needs to happen is an overhaul in our US permitting policy, which will unlock the ability for new renewables and transmission projects to be built at the speed and scale needed. Investors know this, regulators know this, governors know this, and the federal government knows this. The bipartisan infrastructure bill put $20 billion into the Building a Better Grid initiative, which is going to kickstart these efforts in the United States. And there is discussion around significant permitting reform, although at an incipient stage in the US Congress, and therefore we think reasons for optimism. Second, there is consensus around the need to invest in climate adaptation. In the US, we are seeing enormous physical impacts of climate change in both red states and blue states. And we're seeing this translate into much more interest and activity around climate adaptation and resilience. To put this into perspective, last year there was over $400 billion in economic damages in red states and blue states in the US. In California, the largest provider of insurance has stated that they will not underwrite any new home insurance. In Florida, insurance premiums have increased by 50% in the past 4 years and are not stopping. We are seeing state adaptation investment plans being developed in Republican states, including Virginia and Florida, and Democratic states, including California and New York. President Biden will soon publish a national adaptation and resiliency plan and appoint a chief resilience officer. We think technologies ranging from precision agriculture to construction to water desalination to weather intelligence and more will become increasingly important to the US economy and therefore interesting places for investors to invest in. Third, there is consensus around the need to develop a carbon removal industry. Under any net zero scenario, carbon removal will play a significant role. To achieve global net zero goals, we will need to remove approximately 10 gigatons of CO2 per year from the atmosphere in 2050 for every year going forward. A several order of magnitude increase from where we are today. This will require an entire new set of industries and technologies to be developed at scale, ranging from nature-based solutions, including afforestation, biochar, soil carbon, enhanced weathering, to engineered solutions like direct air capture. The bipartisan infrastructure bill has put $3.5 billion into the creation of 4 direct air capture hubs, the goal of which is for each hub to remove 1 million tons of CO2 per year starting in 2030. The corporate sector is getting involved, with efforts like Frontier Climate providing a $1 billion advanced market mechanism to support more companies in this space. And even major oil and gas operators like Occidental are planning multi-billion-dollar investment programs in this area. We think an entire new industry will be formed here, and we suggest to investors and corporates to get involved. And fourth, there is consensus around the need to lean into the shifting of US labor markets. We believe the US workforce is going through major disruptions, which will provide significant new opportunities for workers and employers if properly addressed. First, unionization support is at a 50-year high, with over 90% of Democrats and close to 50% of Republicans supporting unions, according to Gallup, up from 70% and 20% respectively just 15 years ago. Second, US companies and state governments are rethinking job requirements, with both Republican states and Democratic states, including Pennsylvania, Alaska, Virginia, Maryland, and Colorado, recently removing college requirements to work for the state government. Third, we are seeing more experimentation in ways of working, including the growing trend of 4-day work weeks in small businesses to remote and hybrid work becoming the norm for many white-collar jobs. And fourth and finally, and very importantly, there is a growing realization that the United States is facing major worker shortfalls for the twin policies of reshoring manufacturing and accelerating decarbonization. A recent study shows that the IRA itself will create 550,000 clean energy jobs by 2030 in fields ranging from electricians to construction, where there's already a major shortage of workers. This is a problem that will need to get solved. It's a problem that exists in states of all political persuasions, and therefore it will get solved, and with great rewards for the companies and investors who figure it out. So again, there are lots of reasons to focus on pessimism. There are lots of reasons to focus on division. We understand those arguments. We've been following those arguments every single day for the past several years, helping our clients navigate it. But as we spend more time in Washington, as we spend more time talking to investors, corporates, and the larger stakeholders, we think that there are certainly areas of agreement between left and right, pro-ESG and ESG skeptical, for us to move forward on. These 4 areas: fixing the US grid, investing in climate adaptation, building a carbon removal industry, and supporting the tectonic shifts in the US labor market, this is a starting point. This is a place where we can spend our time, focus our efforts, and we think there will be more and more momentum that comes if we focus on those areas and build from there. Thank you very much.